Hi, guys. First of all, thank you so very much for the amazingly overwhelmingly positive feedback I got for Mr. Bowtie Guy. I really didn't expect it to be embraced that much. To the point that I got messages where people are like, "So, what's the next story? So, you're not gonna give us another story?" So this particular story is not even, well, I don't have a name for him. You guys can give him a name if you want, probably Mr. Steve Jobs. But people have a habit of whenever they see me, whether it is on the sidewalk, parking lots, supermarkets, pharmacies, they stop, they engage in a conversation, and they ask me whatever question. And if I'm in a position to answer, I'll answer. So I met this young guy. He might have been in his first year or second year of college here in Jamaica. And he stopped me to ask me some question about career. And we ended up with him. I can't really remember how we got to this point, but he basically said, Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs is where it's at. That's who I want to be. That's where I want to be. He is the ultimate. So I said, yo, that's boss. He said, I want to be the next Steve Jobs. Now, whenever somebody says that, I will never beat them down with their dream because I believe it is possible. So I said, yo, that is huge. That is big. So I said, well, why? He said, well, Steve Jobs is revolutionary. He changed the industry. He helped to create the first $1 trillion company, blah, blah, blah. All the things we know about Steve Jobs and Apple. So then I asked him, I said, so what is it about Steve Jobs' mindset, approach, attitude? What was his defining moment in his life that you think made him reach the level that he reached at? And he looked at me all blank. So I said, well, TK, maybe it is that you asked a question that was a little bit too convoluting. So I said, all right, so, I'm sure you've read articles or you've seen interviews about him. What have you learned about him? What are the attributes that you can take away from him based on what you've learned about him that you plan on, using or understudying in order to be the next Steve Jobs? Blank. So then I'm like, you've read articles on him, right? And he said, yeah, man, yeah. But the more we spoke is the more I realized he read articles on Apple. So I said, no, you want to be Steve Jobs. So what articles have you read about Steve Jobs? Blank. I said, have you watched interviews? Not really. I said, you know that there's a book, like there's a biography of Steve Jobs written by Walter Isaacson. And he said, really? And I said, his daughter wrote a memoir called Small Fry. And he's like, no. So I said, so here's the scene. You can't just fall in love and fantasize about the beautiful, polished, final packaged product without respecting the process. You can't say you want to be as great of a man as Steve Jobs if you do not respect the process that he has gone through. It doesn't mean that his blueprint is going to be your blueprint, but if you do not research, study, try to figure him out, what were his challenges? What was his mindset? What did he do differently? Did he think differently? Did he go through his nose, rejection, dejection? How did he handle it? How did he get to this point? All of these guys leave clues. Paul Brunson said it at a conference that he had here in Jamaica. He was hosted by JMB. He said it, yo, if you spot somebody in the top 1% of the industry and you're trying to be that person, you kind of have to obsess about that person a little bit. You kind of need to understudy, find out what are the habits, what's the routine, what's the training, what is it that they did to get to that point. And if they're leaving you clues and they're leaving you crumbs and they're leaving you their blueprint, it puts you in a position now where you can bob and weave and you can say, well, okay, those are his regrets. Maybe I won't make the same mistakes. But you can't just say you want to be somebody great and you just want to wing it. Like, what? So I told him, when you have the chance, read the book about the man. If you truly respect the man's process, then you will truly understand what it took for him to get to where he is. I said I would encourage you to read Small Fry because sometimes we see these great people in these great positions and we don't know how family life and personal life is sacrificed. So I think you must always try to read as much as possible. So in a world and in an era where information is literally at your fingertips, use it. Use it to your advantage. So don't just say you want to be an Oprah or a Jeff Bezos or a Seth Godin and just leave it there. find out their clues, study their habits, figure out why they think the way they think, and that helps you to position yourself a lot better. So we walked away and he kind of said, I gave him a lot of things to think about, but it's the same thing for us. Don't just say you want to be and fantasize about this final packaged, polished product. Find out everything about that product and everything it went through, from the factory, the manufacturing, the process, everything, the breakdown. Respect the process. And only when you respect the process, you'll actually understand how to get to the place that you want to get. Mr. Steve Jobs, maybe?